Today I'm very excited. I have Tricia Cunningham as my guest. Tricia is the executive director for Always Home, and Always Home does an amazing job helping people who are possibly homeless or need help with finding housing. And Trish is the executive director, has been there since 2021 in that role. So Trish, welcome. So glad that you could come here today and meet with us and talk about the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you.
It's so important.
It is now more than ever, as we are finding out.
Why? The COVID,
Just the housing availability, the cost of housing is extraordinary. And so that's one of the biggest challenges we are seeing with families we are working with. But I'd love to, I can't wait to just sit down. Well, I'm sitting down, but telling you all about what we do, what Always Home does, and how we operate.
Well, before we start with what you do and how you do it, I want to hear the compelling story about the woman who was homeless
how
and sleeping.
we started.
Yeah.
So Always Home was founded over 25 years ago by Reverend Carpenter, who was a reverend at Union Baptist Church, and some other area members of our Mystic Area Ecumenical Council.
So it's an interfaith council that got together in response to a woman's needs.
So what happened was a woman slept on the stairs for 2 nights at Union Baptist Church in downtown Mystic. So the big, beautiful church overshadowing downtown Mystic, and she had nowhere else to go. She stayed on the stairs for 2 nights and then went into church service on that Sunday and left an offering in the envelope and said, you know, I'm looking for Reverend Carpenter. I'm out of my job. I'm out of work and I've lost my housing and I need help. And he was just flabbergasted.
Wow.
And he said, we can't have this be an issue. And that's when he rallied some other individuals in the faith community, the business community, individuals who live in Mystic area and, you know, call the area their home, and created what was called Mystic Area Shelter and Hospitality.
Lovely.
So 25 years later, we are Always Home. We are a nonprofit that works with families with minor children, and our mission is preventing family homelessness. So we really try to work on prevention. And I can kind of get into what that means and what that looks like.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ready to dive in. And I heard a story recently about people who were looking for housing, and because the son was 14, which is a minor, he couldn't stay with the mom given certain circumstances, right?
Well, I don't know that story, but depending on if she was in senior living, I don't know. There's so many different challenges. Someone might have had an eviction on their record or poor credit, or there's so many different things that happen in our path of life that causes some challenges. And when a landlord is looking at your application, they're looking at all of those things.
Well,
and maybe they're not making enough income to, you know, that the landlord is feeling confident. So there's a lot of challenges facing low-income families right now.
Absolutely. We're all struggling, and food prices are going up. And
they sure are, yeah.
Okay, so let's dig in. We have a lot to cover. We only have 20-some minutes. So.
Okay, we have a lot to cover. I'll say, all of this information and then some is available on our website,
which is alwayshome.org. Easy.
Easy. And I am accessible if anybody wants more information.
Okay.
So anybody
can
reach out to me and get more information, and reach out to alwayshome.org if they find themselves in a situation or just want to see if we might be able to help. Every situation is different. Every solution is different.
Well, I love it when we were talking prior to being on set, and you were saying that you knew somebody who actually was a recipient of the services at Always Home, and felt that they weren't judged and they were listened.
Yes.
Or they were heard and they understood.
And they were seen, yeah. So this is a very, someone who's near and dear to my heart, and seeing how Always Home was able to help them without judgment and with great care, with love, compassion, and they felt seen and they felt heard and they felt supported through that process.
And that was enough to help whomever, this person, your friend.
That's what motivated me. My past professional experience is so disparate from what I'm doing now in terms of housing. But it was the passion, it was the heart of what we do that brought me to the organization. So I'm so thrilled to be able to serve the community in this
capacity.
Thank
you for this work.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure you're not getting paid what you're worth kind of thing.
It's
so
definitely, we all work so hard. Everybody in our organization, we're a small office. There's 5 of us, and everybody works very hard and wears many hats. So we're based out of Mystic because back 25 years ago, Union Baptist Church founded us.
That's where it all started.
Offer us office space in their separate building. So we're in this other office building and they give us free office space, and
that's amazing right there.
Right. So that being said, we also serve all of Eastern Connecticut. So we're able to do that, especially since COVID. We're able to work with a lot of families over the phone. If they need to come in, they're welcome to come in, or maybe we could meet them elsewhere if necessary. But between childcare, work schedules, sometimes it's easier for families to connect via phone and then do texting and follow-up emails with the paperwork they need to get and things like that. But what we do is twofold. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our work with 211 and our shelter diversion.
I hope everybody knows about 211 too.
Well, if not, I'm about to tell them.
The information hotline. It's just like you dial 211. It used to be 411 if you wanted information. Now it's for social services.
So 211, you'll be directed. If you're a family and you call 211 and you're literally homeless or 14 days from homelessness, you'll be directed to Always Home in Eastern Connecticut. And that's when we'll take you on and do the case management. We'll do the intake and get all the information and do the case management. It's a very challenging role. We're looking at the problem solving alongside with you.
Sure, absolutely.
Do you have other friends and family you can stay with? Can we save your current housing? Is there an opportunity to save it somehow?
Negotiate,
can we talk to the landlord? Right? Is there any way we can save that? All right, you found another place to stay, another apartment that you were accepted to, but because you've been staying in a motel, you don't have the savings for a security deposit. We might be able to work with you on getting together that security deposit, maybe a portion of first month's rent. Again, everything's different. We're always looking at the budget. Everything is based on the budget, because for Always Home, especially our prevention side of our work, we want to make sure that you can maintain it going forward.
Exactly.
So we're always looking at that budget with the clients. But our 211 work is our diversion work, and we're part of what's called the Coordinated Access Network, which is throughout the state of Connecticut. It's the homelessness response system. So Always Home serves as what's called a family hub in Eastern Connecticut. So we're the hub for families. So families can call us, or if you call 211, you will end up being connected with us, and that's when we'll work with you. And sometimes diversion from homelessness might mean you have family in another state. And maybe that's the best case scenario at that moment. And
well, that's interesting, because if you're in that situation, you're not necessarily, you're scared. You're very scared. You're threatened. One of Maslow's hierarchy, housing is critical. And if you're not thinking clearly, you don't know what to do or how to solve it. So you need somebody who's a neutral. You've never met this person before. You're going to sit down and have this conversation and figure it out.
See what kind of opportunities, options might be available to you. And then ultimately, there's the shelter opportunities in the state. There are not many for families.
I was just going to ask, how many are there?
There's Covenant Shelter in New London, and in Danielson there is Access Agency, and also up northeast is Holy Family. So there is a shelter wait list. When I first started,
oh my gosh, right.
About 4 years ago, there was not a wait list. So this is just another, that's just a clear way of showing that
things are getting worse, not better.
If you talk to folks that we work with that have been doing this work for 20 plus years, they've never quite seen it this bad. And then you throw in potential funding cuts from the state or from federal, and you're just not sure what will happen next. So for each day, we do the best we can.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
But so 211, that's basically what we call our diversion work, and we work alongside other hubs in that regard. And then there might, so we work with specifically families with minor children. There would be another hub for individuals, right?
Who don't have children, who are single. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that's that one piece of work. And then when we will access state funds and other funds to work with the families that we would get through 211. The primary piece of our work at Always Home is the prevention.
Okay.
So imagine you're falling behind on your rent, or your car broke down, or you lost hours at work and you're not able to pay rent that week, and now it starts to spiral out of control. But you don't want to have to wait till you are 14 days from homelessness to be able to get help. What do? That's where Always Home can come in. We can assist with a family that is finding themselves in a situation where they might not qualify for other resources. But they need to stabilize that housing, because without the housing, without that foundation for your children, it all starts to fall apart.
Of course it does.
So if we can, it's also, quite frankly, it's more economical. It's very expensive to start all over again, or to go into shelter, or to stay in a motel. All of that's very expensive. It's far more economic to help stabilize a family where they're at. So if we can work with a family, we'll look at their budget and see what's going on, and see, can they afford to go forward? We can assist with possibly part of their past month's rent. We can, if they didn't qualify for 211, services, there might be a situation where they are moving into a new apartment but don't have the funds for a security deposit, but we need them to be housed. We might be able to help with that. Or something happened right now and it's going to spiral, so maybe we might need to assist with current month's rent. So there's different kind of scenarios with the rental assistance. Another thing we can do is assist with childcare. So some of our families will assist with childcare costs, like summer camp, because summer camp is expensive, and if you're working, you still have to send your kiddos somewhere, so we can assist with that. But one of my favorite programs is our Wheels to Work program.
Wheels to Work.
Wheels to Work. So what that is, it's a growing program where it started with, we could take a vehicle that was donated and fix it up a little bit and donate it to a family. So that's one thing. But then we kind of opened that up and we were able to assist with someone's car repairs. So we recently had a grant from New London and from Town of Groton, both for Wheels to Work through their America Rescue Plans Act. So we have specific funds for Wheels to Work, where if you have minor children, you live in those towns or that city, and you're working and something needs going on with your car, we can assist with the car repair. Again, has to be low income and working, and we can talk about what low income means, and we can touch on ALICE a little bit.
ALICE, everybody knows about ALICE, right? And it's an acronym. We always have to remember that it is an acronym. It's not somebody's name, right?
ALICE, this is something that United Way has put together, which is beyond helpful to put things into perspective.
So you have assets that are limited.
ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And
income constrained, but you're employed. So you're working, but you're not getting enough money, and with minimum wage and the cost of housing, there's a big discrepancy between those things. So.
And what United Way, they put together what was called a household survival budget. So back in 2021, the survival budget they came up with for a two-parent household with two kiddos, that it's an infant and a preschooler, the annual household survival budget for them would be $96,852. That means for a combined hourly wage, 2021, they would have needed to make $48.43.
An hour.
Yeah, an hour. Thank you for clarifying that.
That's crazy. I mean, sometimes people make that in a day.
So they realized that was not an accurate with the housing costs and inflation and things that were happening in 2023. They did an 18.2% increase to that, and the annual total for that family of four is $114,000, hourly wage $57.22. Basically, the cost of housing is just so severely out of reach. The people's incomes have not increased at that level.
Cost of living has gone way up. Cost of salaries have not gone up, or hourly wages. So what can somebody get an apartment for if someone's looking for a place to live?
It's tough. Like a one bedroom in New London, right, could be $1,700-$1,800 a month.
And then that doesn't include utilities necessarily.
That exactly.
Doesn't
so that's
include
not utilities
laundry.
included.
Doesn't include food. Doesn't include transportation, healthcare.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on.
So that's a challenge for families.
$1,700.
So that'd be hard to get for like a 3-bedroom.
Right.
It would be hard to get that.
Right.
If you have a family, like 2 or 3 kids, you might need a larger. Of course. Larger apartment.
And you wouldn't have furniture. This would be a dwelling, but
yep. So if we look at Alice families, so asset limited, income constrained, employed, so they're making below that survival budget, that or below is what is then considered Alice families,
which is pretty much a lot of people.
Yeah. So pick a town in New London County. Just pick a town.
Okay. So we have East Lyme. We have Basra.
So East Lyme, 32% of the people in East Lyme would be considered the below Alice threshold. That's staggering.
It is very staggering.
That's staggering. In Groton, 40%.
Wow.
So there's a lot
in New London, it's 56. So
there's a lot of people.
Half of the people in New London, Norwich is 50%. So Norwich is solid 50. Half of the people that you'd meet in New London are going to be Alice.
So or below.
Wow.
Or below. So just think about one thing that could go wrong. Like I said, the car repair, or maybe you lost a week of hours because you were taking care of a family member.
Of course. Or you get sick yourself and you're not, well, yeah. Wow.
So one thing could just set that spiral. So that's kind of one of the ways that Always Home comes in. We had one family that we worked with recently, and you can actually see her story on our website. But one family that we helped recently, she was trying to get a different job because she thought she would go into sales and she would really kind of grow her income and help her family further. And it just wasn't working at first.
I saw that story. And is it okay to talk about that story?
Yeah.
Because that's a public story and she's given permission. And I would suggest everyone who has the opportunity to look on Always Home on the website to be able to look and to see her story, because it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
You'll get horripilation by watching that and hearing it, because the story is so compelling. Beautiful young woman, 3 beautiful children, 3 boys, and one of them has special needs, and what goes with that, I know as a speech pathologist, because I worked a lot with kids who had special needs like that and needed, and to be a parent of somebody like that, and then to have the housing.
You're already kind of strapped, right? Your energy level's already strapped, let alone throw in.
It's so exhausting, just trying to keep bread on the table, food on the table, and keeping a roof over your head. Yeah, it's a compelling story.
Yeah, so she did try. So kudos to her, because that was brave to step outside of her comfort zone and try a different role.
Of course.
And for the sake of her family.
Right.
For the sake of the well-being and the growth of her family. And it didn't quite work out. And we've all been there where it doesn't quite work out. And that's okay. And she was able to go back to her prior employment. They took her back because they loved her.
They liked her.
And so they said, come back. And she was able to go back to the prior employment. But in that time, she lost that income. Now, she says in the video, it was a little over $1,000 to stabilize her. She says in the video, $1,000 might not be a lot to you or this other person, but to her, it was her whole life. And it meant saving her housing. Imagine having to start all over or figure something else out, and,
You don't know. I mean, there by the grace of God go I is kind of my first thought.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I told you the story when I was a kid. We had a fire and we were homeless that day. The house was completely ruined and we had to evacuate. We almost lost. My brother died in the fire. I almost died. It was, minutes before I took my last breath, but we got out and took some fresh air in and survived. But the house was gone. Where do you go?
Yeah.
Same thing.
And what do you do with that? Hopefully community will rally around you and support you. And sometimes that happens. And sometimes you don't have anywhere to turn.
Right. And this young woman's story
don't.
I thought was so compelling, that she was a young woman, 17 years old when She lost her parents, I think is what the story was about.
Yeah.
And so
really, she already had she had a challenging life already.
Yeah. So we can't judge, but we need to listen, we need to hear, we need to do what we can do to support people in those situations.
I do think people are trying to make their best decision with what they think their options are at that time.
Of course they are.
I know I'm always trying to make the best decision with what I think my options are at that time.
We all try to do the best we can. And I love it that Always Home has that person who's going to be that neutral, kind of more calm listener, looking at the facts, looking at the numbers, looking at, right?
Yep.
That's what
we're definitely starting with the facts and the numbers. So we're always looking at that because we want a true picture so that we can help guide to the next step, guide to stability. So we do, and some of the things, back to Wheels to Work too. So one family we worked with, he worked in a nonprofit, and he actually, one of his jobs was bringing clients around to different, he was, as one of his jobs, he was with clients and he had to use his vehicle to bring the clients to different places. And his car broke down.
Oh boy.
So he was a single dad, and what do you do? And he was just making ends meet. And he, what does he do? And he called Always Home. We were able to help fix his car because he also had that path forward. So it was this bump, and he just needed a hand up. So we were able to help him with his car. And we're looking at housing costs, transportation costs too are extraordinary. Costs of cars are extraordinary.
And we don't have good, decent public transportation in this area.
We don't. And they try, but also imagine if you're a family, you were trying to get back home, trying to get home to the kids and the bus schedule.
It's not easy.
It's tough around here, and we are very spread out as a community because it's somewhat, there's those rural areas.
Exactly. The old cow paths, right?
Yep. And so sometimes you do need that vehicle to be able to get to work. So I really love our Wheels to Work program.
Nice.
So that's been something that we're very proud of.
So Wheels to Work will help with transportation
challenges. Yep. And making sure that there's a way to get back to that stability. There's limits.
Of course there's limits.
We are a nonprofit. We have, there are limits, but same with past due rent. Sometimes we're not able to save every housing depending on how past due you are. So
basically what I'm hearing you say too is to be a little bit proactive. If you think that the clock is ticking, you have 14 days, and you think, oh, this isn't working. Right? In your belly, you have a sense like,
before that happens.
Even before that.
Way before that. we want to go way back.
Don't wait.
You're in a tough situation, and you have young kids, and you're trying to figure out what your next steps are. Give us a call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if for some reason we can't help you now, at least you'll be able to know exactly what we do, and we'll give you the whole story of what we do, and we're always looking at the big picture.
I love that, and I love it how you're always coordinating with other businesses and other nonprofits and other agencies. It's not just a standalone little silo.
There are a lot of times where we might work with collaborative problem solving, where one agency might be able to assist with this, and another agency might be able to assist with this. Or maybe it's a joint collaboration where we are both assisting with that rental assistance.
Well, I love the wraparound. I love the umbrella. And then do you track people after perhaps you've given them something or helped the hand up kind of thing?
Yep, we do reach out, 3 and 6 months, and we reach out and check in, and hopefully they, we find out what's going on at that time, and if hopefully they're in good stable situation.
Yeah.
And,
do you have numbers at all about how many people you've helped over the years?
Yeah, just like last year, for example. So our fiscal year is July 1 to July 30.
Okay.
Right. So last year.
July 1 to June 30, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I meant.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. Last year we worked with 458 families, and what that means is 935 children.
Wow.
So what that equaled out to. We spent a total of $324,000 helping those families. Just to give you an example of what that really means, in terms of that financial assistance, just the past due rent, I want to find that because it was a big number. And when I say this, I want to clarify it for you. Rental assistance, past due rent assistance was $104,000 last year. That was just past due rent assistance. All of our dollars that we bring in are privately fundraised, except for that diversion specialist that we work with in our homelessness response system. And through her work, she's able to access some state funds that we were able to, that we work on collaboratively in the region. So we do an incredible amount of grant writing, fundraising, our annual fund. We just recently had a gala, which is a huge part of our budget.
Nice.
So the community is wildly supportive. So when I get kind of down a little bit, which sometimes I can in this work, our team, it's tough work.
It's tough work.
I think about all the different people that step up.
And the good things that you've done, and the good things the people that provide for you. That's great.
They step up and they support us. We have a phenomenal group of volunteers that help fundraise with us throughout the year with our gala and our board of directors. We just have a phenomenal group of people that care about our mission.
Nice.
So we're very fortunate.
Very good. Very good. Well, we just have a couple of minutes left, Trish, and I know that there's we could talk for another couple of days probably.
We could.
But I'm just wondering if people want to help and people want to donate, they can just go to your website, alwayshome.org, you said, and also are there events coming up that we should be aware of, or
there's always something up our sleeve. So a couple things. So we just had our gala. River Jam is a really fun event in Mystic at Mystic Shipyard. A wonderful woman, Courtney Moore, she puts this event on. It's actually a fundraiser that the ticket sales, the proceeds from the ticket sales will go to Pawcatuck Neighborhood Center.
Nice.
And tips at the bar will come to Always Home.
Nice.
So that's what we would call a hosted event where they're supporting our mission through that event. So that's coming up the weekend of July 10th and 11th and 12th. And so go to, I think it's Mystic River Jam, and you can find the information on our website. And then we also work with the Old Mystic Village merchants every year.
Nice.
This isn't until the winter, but we have the Chowder Festival in February. So the Charity Chowder Cook-Off, where we get different restaurants to participate and bring in their best chowder. And we have judges, and we have the People's Choice Award, but that's in February. So there's events like that throughout the year that we do to fundraise and to bring in our additional support so we can do this amazing work.
Well, you're doing a beautiful job, beautiful work. Thank you for the passion that you have that gets you propelled in this work and doing it so well every day. Thank you so much.
Well, we have an amazing team. We have our grants, marketing, and communications manager, Kathy Keller. She's been with us for 11 years. And Marlon Banker, who is our social worker, she's been with us for over 15 years.
Nice.
We have our new diversion specialist who just started with us, Gabriella Trudell, and Ashley Lane, who's been with us for about almost 3 years now.
So if we come to one of those events, we get to meet all these great, fabulous people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Trish. It was just great meeting you and getting to know a little bit about it. And we will look for Always Home and try to find an activity and support there and be there for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.